Before Pinochet's dictatorship, Chilean educational institutions were mainly free and public. The coverage on pre-primary and secondary schooling was above the average of Latin American countries, similar to Argentina and Costa Rica. Across Chile, education at all its levels was free public and free for all. Moreover, Universidad de Chile was considered the most important institution in Latin America. However, the economical model imposed during the dictatorship involved a radical transformation of the state and the society. The prior educational system, which had the obligation of providing free education to their citizens, was changed into a system that is held by the private sector and parents' investments, which means that it's up to the parents looking and paying for their children's education. Due to this fact, education in Chile nowadays is not a basic human right, but a commodity that obeys free market laws. Besides, the fact that some parents cannot afford for an education of quality, Chilean educational system has provoked inequality, segregation, and exclusion in education, and the role of the teacher has been conceived as a person who transmits knowledge, a person who is in charge of providing numbers and standards, in order to increase the money which is received by educational institutions. Therefore, Chilean teachers' situation has been shifted. From being workers of the state, they became workers of the educational market.
In any civilized society, education is fundamental, and teachers are crucial. Unfortunately, Chilean education is in crisis. Teachers and students are the major changes, but it seems that the government does not take their demands into consideration when decisions are making. Besides, teachers' demands seem to have an inferior impact in society than the ones that students make. So, we believe that teachers' demands might be fulfilled through teacher activism. Due to this fact, we wanted to conduct an interview to a teacher in order to know her position on teacher activism and also her thoughts about it, plus to know what is the role of teacher. Our questions are based on ideas proposed by Alberto Mayol in his book No al Lucro, and also ideas from Luis González's book, Arriba Profes de Chile. Our interviewee is Carmen Cecilia Montes. She is the Teaching Language Program Director at Universidad Diego Portales. She also works at the Comisión Nacional de Acreditación de Universidades de Chile, and she has worked continuously at school and university for 33 years. Now, we invite you to enjoy the interview. What is the role that teachers should play in society?
I think that the teachers in a society are key to the building of a better society. I think that education is the key to change the way that societies are built. Because the education would give people that have access to the education the possibility of facing an equal scenario and be seen as possibilities of people that can achieve equity. Now, that means that education would give a human being the possibility of becoming more active in the building of a society, and not only accepting what is somehow determined by a very exclusive top group of people that have more power.
So, but do you believe that that situation happens now in Chile?
I think that it depends. I think that teachers, and many of the teachers I know, they have in their heart and soul, and whenever they start, this dream of becoming people that would be part of the building of a better society. They will find situations at the school level and even at the university level where there is not much they have the feeling that it's not much they can do. Because there are certain things that are given by the structure or are given by the institution, and they are supposed to become responsible for achieving those. No matter whether they agree with those or no matter whether they're aligned to their own principles and ideals. But even so, I would say, even though I would say that if you can see that there is always a possibility of getting into the system so that then you become accepted and valid as somebody that would be able to contribute with others, and you take somehow be a bit patient and do it little by little. Nobody, not even the teachers that are working in a place where they can see that, or they think that there's no possibility of them of doing anything, but just accepting things that are as they are. If you're patient, intelligent, and understand that changes are not fast, but that you would be able to make some changes little by little, and not like get frustrated, disappointed, and forget about it. I think everybody could. Things are not easy for many teachers. You're gonna go to schools, and probably you've seen that, where teachers have ideals, they have certain objectives they want to achieve, they want to make their own plan, and they get there and they're given a plan and that they have to follow, or they're given a textbook and they have to do exactly page 25, activity 4, and there's no way they can just even create scenario for the students to learn. But little by little, if you're intelligent and patient and you know who to link with, you can make important changes.
And the next question, what do you think teacher activism could be? It is somehow different from being a militant or teaching agency?
I think that to be an agent is somebody that will somehow assume the role of the leader in any kind of movement. An activist would be somebody that participates in the movement to change anything that, in this case, it would be education, and change it for the better. But an agent that has a view of leadership as something that is shared by others and has a role of just somehow putting together ideas and having the people, like making the people participate, that kind of agent would be part of being a militant, as you say, or an activist. Now, that kind of agent would understand that any change involves having a group of people, not only one person in charge. And there's nothing you can do as an individual. You have to do it with other people. So that social, I would say that social leader that sees us that way is also an activist. And the agency or being an agent would be for the whole group of people. And the only difference there is that the leader would be the one that would just be seducing people to participate.
In that way, do you consider yourself an activist? And
I do.
why?
I think I am. I've never worked in a place where I don't think I have something to say and something to do with other people. Whenever I get somewhere, I would just see the other people and start working with them to, even if it's a small thing, to make it better for the students we have there. Because I think that education is, as Malala says, is a way of really giving people dignity and having them become part of the builders of this society, and not people that would just be followers and resented because of what's going on in society. So I think I've always participated, which does not mean I always go to marches. It depends on my role, depends on where I am. But I've never worked in a place where I would just, more than having the role or accepting that things are just done and I have to follow things as they are. I always have the feeling that I can do something and change it, no matter where I've worked.
Do you believe that it should teacher be against, be pro something, or is it worth fighting for something as a teacher? Why?
Yes, I would say I would make the difference between fighting and struggling, just because I think struggling is got to do with your force as a human being and comes more from your soul. Fighting might somehow, for me, it's got to do more with violence. I do not agree with violence to get anywhere. but I think you, no human being, and I wouldn't like a teacher to be an exception to that, but because I think they, mostly them, they should always be struggling for a better society. So I think that a real teacher is somebody that would be engaged in that struggle. There's no way somebody that would just conform to things as they are, that's not a good teacher.
Do you consider that el Colegio de Profesores function as a union, or do you belong to it?
I don't belong to the, what was the name of it?
Colegio de
Profesores. Somehow, I belonged to it for a while, but I would say no more than 2 years. No, I think that the change is produced in the context of education. I think it's got to do with the context. And we have a context which is the more than the city or the country, it's the world. But also you work in a country, you work in a city, and specifically in different places. And I think the context is what makes the whole difference, because you need to understand what the needs are there, and the only way to understand them is to be part of it. Now, speaking from the outside, you're speaking about things that are too general and not specific to the need of the people you have there. I think that, and somehow, some people there, I don't know whether you know or not, they've never taught in a classroom. So it is, I would say our struggle is a political struggle, but it's related not to politics, but to education, right? And I think it's got to do with your own society, but there's no way you can know that if you haven't been part of a school, university, and you speak from the books or from your own interests. No, I think it's I think being an activist from your own place, and that is what you have to do.
So following your idea, so why do you believe that educational policies are thought under a technical, economical, and productive ideology?
I think I think that some of them are. Now, so policies is got to do with the following. In other words, it's teaching students certain things they need to know so that they become part of the industry, thinking about the needs of a country, economically speaking. I think that we have to have some of that. You cannot, I would say, it would be not fair to start with a carrera that would offer the students a possibility or learning that would have no place for them afterwards, because that would be like cheating them. But at the same time, if you understand that by giving the students and the new generations a possibility of changing what is going on for the better, you should also open the possibility further from what is happening in the current life, that is to say, even in the economic life today. So maybe we can think of different, let's say, carreras that nobody have thought of because they're not being used today, but those are the ones that would be needed so that we have a better society. You can do that, but you have to take, I would say, into account both what is needed, but also certain possibilities of making the changes. Nobody, in the old days, for example, people that would be in different companies and would be working with the change of the view of the company were people mainly from the math sector, people that were mathematicians and the people in finance, and today they're coming from social science. So people that today have, for example, people that have a bachelor in social science or history, those are the ones that can see today the needs of the future, because they understand history fully. So those are the ones that are needed. And maybe they would just tell you, we need more engineers, and maybe what you need is more social science workers that can think the world in a different way. So it's like both. But at the same time, I think it's not just to produce people that are, that is somehow people that are needed in the labor forces, but think about other possibilities so that you would change the reality that you have today.
So the final question is, in that sense, what is the role that higher education institutions have in towards, as you were saying, seeing the future needs of society?
I would say a program that is giving the students the possibility to develop as teachers that would be able to get together with other teachers and make this world a better world to live. And I think should have a program that is basically based on providing scenarios for the students to think reflectively, critically, and with an informed opinion. That means they need to know a lot. They would be able to make interpretations of what has been said or written and adjust that to the different contexts they got to finally in their life would work. Now, because if it's not telling them certain prescriptions of what they have to do, but it's giving them scenarios where they would create a critical view and be able to create different learning programs for the students. But that involves a lot of knowing and also a lot of seeing this knowing critically and being able to, in a very informed and responsible way, offer serious scenarios for the students who would have. So I think the programs that are in charge of, I wouldn't say forming because I don't like forming people because that is shaping them, but good scenario for programs would be a scenario that would think about that and create serious scenarios with a lot of literature, information, so that people would know what has been done, what has been said, and just be able to see the realities and be able to use that differently depending on the context. And that is not easy.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Currently, Chilean educational policies are being thought and are being implemented under a neoliberal perspective. This paradigm postulates that everything in life should respond to free market laws, and the state should not interfere in private domains such as education. Therefore, education under this paradigm promotes individualism, consumerism, rejects if people organize themselves, even punish if people do it. However, as future teachers, we strongly believe that education is a public matter and it must concern every citizen in society because it is through education that we make sure that future generations accomplish their goals and aspirations. We, as teachers, must be aware of how a teacher can be an agent of change, and as our interviewee said, teachers should promote social justice. That is why teaching will always be a political act that can help us to build a better society only if we participate with other teachers through collaborative work. Especially when teachers are the ones who have a better and deeper understanding on what is going on in education, outside and inside of the classroom, because they know the educational needs of society. Keeping this in mind, policies and teaching programs which are designed by someone external would be predisposed to failure because those are not paying attention to based on actual needs of Chilean society. Therefore, if government which is in charge does not pay attention to aspects such as teachers' historical demands, teachers will reject to implement the changes that government promotes. Thank you.